Okay, guys, so new construction conversation with Nick Clark, DR Horton. Been over 10 years now, 10 years, I believe.
Yeah, approaching it with the builder. Yeah, it's gone fast, but it's been a wild ride.
So over 10 years, we've worked with him a ton over the years, absolute expert. So wanted to talk to you about a few different things, but let's first start by the market. So existing home inventory, like we're seeing a little bit more inventory. We're seeing homes, last longer on the market. There's definitely been a shift. Can you tell us what you're seeing in your new construction world?
Yeah, that's a great question. In a lot of ways that we run parallel. We've kind of had like the entire real estate market the last 24 to 30 months has been just pure craziness, both from trying to get a standpoint of trying to get homes built in a timely manner and meet the demands of the public that was searching for a new home. As we've kind of transitioned through the summer and interest rates have climbed, we have seen a little bit of a slowdown, like everybody, but it's given us a chance to catch our breath and reevaluate a little bit how we want to approach things, which has been a really beneficial moment for us. Our business model has kind of restructured itself a couple times the last couple of years. We've transitioned now to the point where we only sell inventory here at DR Horton, meaning the day and age of coming in and picking out a lot and picking out all the finishes in the home, for us at least temporarily, has come and gone. Which has benefited everything we're doing because it allows us to provide a little bit more of a realistic timeline for people to get into the home. It allows us to give them a little bit more realistic idea when they can lock an interest rate and just a little bit more less stress on that side of things, which has benefited everything. Our traffic across the division during the month of June, I would say, took a little bit of a hit. But we had a nice July and we've seen a busy start to August in terms of foot traffic in the models. I think all the builders are going to tell you, like, we're really excited for the fall selling season. The fall parade of homes is right around the corner. We get 2 Super Bowls a year, the spring and the fall parade, and we take it very seriously. It's a crazy month and it's on the horizon, but we're going to see a lot of people kind of back in the market, I think, this fall. I think people have had an opportunity, and I'm sure you've talked about this with this group, to kind of readjust the math with their budget and get used to the new numbers. And when they come to see us, we've got some pleasant surprises, and I'm sure we're going to talk about all sorts of things. But one of the ways we've done at DR Horton is figured out ways to incentivize the financing end of what we're doing. We have some advantages that not every builder in the market's going to share just because of our size. And that's really allowed us some advantages from a standpoint of working with our mortgage company to lock in lower interest rates and to offer buy down programs, which really, when you start doing the math on how that adds up, people are saving anywhere $7,000 to $10,000 a month. $7,000 to $10,000 total over the first year or two just on payments based off what we're able to offer.
Okay, so that's interesting. So the first thing I want to say is that's so interesting how, you guys have continued only spec homes. So spec homes, then dates, and that makes it easier. Okay, so let's talk about incentives. So obviously the rates, and I'm wondering if it's still going on. So DR Horton purchased, and I heard it was like millions and millions of dollars to buy down rates. So that affects buyers on the first and second year, correct? If they use your lender. And how long is that going on, Nick?
Honestly, it affects year 3 through 30 as well. Because what we've done is you hit the nail on the head. What Horton did is they worked with the mortgage company and they bought these rates in advance. So, for example, any home that you would purchase with us now that can close by the end of October, and we have several in every neighborhood, how it works is we're going to lock the customer in at a 4.99% interest rate. And that would be, it's a 30-year conventional mortgage. They can refi out of it, no strings attached, but it's about almost a full point better than what the standard rate is on the market right now. So you're locked in at 4.99 for 30 years, but the first 2 years, the builder provides a 2-1 buy down. So what DR Horton is doing is we're buying down the rate 2 points in the first year and then a full point in the second year. So those payments, when we go back to the math of the equation, what they reflect is a 2.99% interest rate that first year. So you're saving big time money, 2 points on your rate payments that first year. And then for the second 12 months, so month 12 through 24, or or 13 through 24, your payment reflects a 3.99% interest rate. So it's empowering because people come into the models kind of, I guess, readjusted to the current rate market. And then we can kind of give them the news that we can save them some serious money. And on top of that, you still get the $5,000 in closing costs. So we've really tried to make it affordable for people to buy homes from a budget standpoint, from a month-to-month standpoint. And that's resonated like crazy. It's a lot of fun to present it to the customers when they come in because, you know, they've probably had a conversation with a loan officer, they got a sense of payments, and then we sit them down and kind of readdress those payments. And, you know, it frees up some money, whether they want to put a deck on the house right away or just, you know, kind of refill the savings account a little bit, whatever it might be. It's really impactful from a month-to-month standpoint.
Okay, I love that. So you mentioned $5,000 in closing costs, which we have not heard for years, right?
Yep.
So is there any other incentives that you guys are just putting out there, or is that really it? That's the rates and the $5,000 in closing costs?
Yeah, we're focused on that side of things right now. You know, as we get into the parade, who knows, that may change a little bit, but kind of the consensus under our roof was, you know, that's what's most important to people. And so let's focus on what's most important to people.
Okay. Let's talk about closing dates. So obviously you're only selling spec homes, so you know better on those closing dates. Are you still doing about 2 months out giving that date? And
Yeah,
are
you'll know, you know, we'll lock it in. You know, in our world, it's kind of once cabinets are on site and scheduled to be installed, that's about 45 days out. But 60 days out, 90 days out, we have a lot more certainty in terms of trying to predict when that date's going to be. That was the hardest part of, you know, really the most of 2021 was, you know, COVID kind of ravaged us a little bit. And what I mean by that is the labor market was so tight where if you get this plumbing crew sick, for example, and they're out of work 10 days, there's no plan B. And so everything across the whole neighborhood gets pushed back. And that just made it a little bit more difficult for us to give anybody a realistic idea. And I know I recognize a lot of names on the screen. There are several of you who we worked with whose buyers were navigating that with us. And whenever I get the chance, I always want to say thanks to all of you because that message wasn't always the easiest to deliver. And the support we had in the real estate community in reassuring our customers that that this is normal for the times, it made it a lot easier to make those phone calls because they were hearing it from both sides. But yeah, there's a lot more certainty now and a lot more, it's a lot more, the stress has been relieved from our construction supervisors because they can predict the house schedule a little bit more and line up the trades a little bit more in an organized fashion, which when you're building the volume we have, and that's one thing, like our volume hasn't really shifted. We still are putting homes in the ground, even as the market transitions, we're still building them. Like our goal through the last forever has been to add as much inventory to the market as we can. Inventory levels are starting to rise, right? You talked about that, but like we continue to try to hold up our end of the bargain on that. And we just want to give you guys opportunities to sell our homes. And by doing that, we got to put them in the ground and get them built. And that's something that we're a lot more organized with the last couple months.
Well, and I mean, you guys, DR Horton has bought in so much amazing land. I mean, you guys have done that right, that's for sure. Okay, so let's talk about labor shortages, any like material shortages. Are you having issues currently?
I'm going to knock on wood before I say anything.
I will too.
You know, our biggest headache the last 6 months has been cabinets, and that's starting to clear itself up a little bit. You know, we're still running into occasional material bumps in the road. It can be the most random stuff at the most random times, but it's a lot less often than it's been the last few months or the last year or two. And that's made it a lot easier. Again, the construction supervisors, my friend Tad is sitting over here a few feet to my left, and he's the hero, right? Because they're the ones that glue this all together and make it run smoothly. And so they're the ones that have had to deal with most of these headaches. But no, it's gotten better. You know, what hasn't improved is the cost of doing business, and that's a whole another layer to the conversation, right? You're going to see the new home prices, you know, hold relatively firm because our homes are basic math. It's land, labor, and materials. And until that labor and materials kind of calms down a little bit, you know, the home prices are going to be what they're going to be. And that's a real part of our business model, right? Is you got to, in order for us to buy the next piece of really beautiful land, we've got to make a few bucks on this one. And And so that's just the way it works. But because of how we've been able to finance the incentive and make these payments a little bit more affordable, it's made it really realistic for people to still get in homes.
Okay, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so let's shift from the market and what's going on to a lot of people want to know, if they haven't worked with a lot of new construction, what the, inside scoop is to be a good agent and things like that. So the things I think of right away that are different with you guys are some of the timelines and warranties. So let's talk about timelines first, and how an agent is involved in that or not.
Yeah, well, in short, let us drive the car, right? Like we don't have any control over the buyer's rep doesn't have any control over, like, there's no fast forward button on the construction of the house. So just, work with us as a partner, as opposed to kind of the antagonist, right? What we're trying to do, we both have the same end goal, and that's a happy homeowner in the end. And if we always, I think that's important, if we keep that kind of at the forefront of our thought process as we do this, it all kind of works out. But like in reality, the DR Horton sales team is going to try to make this the easiest transaction you're going to experience.
Okay.
We do all the communicating with, you're CC'd on everything or you're looped into everything, but like we do all the communicating with the customers. We're giving them weekly updates. They're always looped in with what's happening with their home. So when surprises or bumps in the road do pop up, it's not like they haven't heard from us for 3 or 4 weeks and all of a sudden we're reaching out just now with this news of, a delay on a cabinet or an appliance or something like that. They're hearing from us every week and you're looped into that as well. And so just, come along for the ride. Obviously, what we try to stress is the more educated you are on the construction process or on just kind of working with the builder, the easier it's going to be for you to relay that message as well. Which is why, and I say this all the time, our models are open almost 7 days a week across the Twin Cities. Like, we're a resource beyond this phone call, beyond any of the other events we host. If you ever want to come out and just learn a little bit about new construction or walk through a home at various stages of construction, we're happy to do that. It's a big part of our job is building and forging these relationships. And then we actually try to take it to another level, and that's to educate and bring people inside our model and inside our homes under construction. So you have a real sense of why we do this and what's happening here and what does this code require or whatever it might be. We just try to be a resource in the real estate community for all of you to take advantage of us because we like to teach.
And you guys are doing more of that. And I'll say communication wise, some builder reps, I think it's, reps are better at communication than other. Nick, you are awesome. You always know what's going on, but sometimes people don't keep you in the loop and you're like, oh my gosh, you don't know what's going on. So you do an awesome job at that. Can we talk about specifically as far as an agent, what appointments you should be at? You need to be at the signing. You need to be at final walkthrough. A lot of times, I don't know if you guys are inviting agents to the actual closing anymore, but is there anything else that an agent should actually be at?
Well, obviously, purchase agreement is the first appointment. That's an absolute must, right? We're the most, probably I would argue, the most realtor friendly builder in the Twin Cities. And what I mean by that is, if your client comes in randomly on a Saturday and they don't mention they're working with you, like, we're going to honor your relationship. We can meet your client several times and then they show up to sign the paperwork and that day you happen to just arrive. Like, we're still going to honor your relationship and put you on the contract and make sure you get a paycheck. That's first and foremost. But beyond that, yeah, the initial purchase agreement, it is healthy to stop in, even if you can't be there with your clients as they're going through kind of the process of deciding which home or which lot or whatever that might be. To meet the sales rep, we always like to meet you face to face. Come in, say hi. We'll turn the Keurig on and have a cup of coffee and just sit down and kind of give you a rundown of what we've covered with your buyer and where things are. And then beyond that, though, the purchase agreement. We don't host a pre-drywall walk anymore with the construction supervisors because their schedules have gotten so crazy. And lining that up has been a little bit more difficult. So what I've done is I've started to take my customers through that on my own. I've got enough experience. I know the X's and O's of building a house enough where I still take the electrical plan and I take the customer into the home and we still do a pre-drywall walk. I think that's an incredibly valuable experience for the customer and the realtor because you can really see the home kind of at the gut standpoint, right? Like, there's no insulation in the walls. There's no sheetrock up yet. but you can really kind of feel the home out in terms of like where the outlets are, where the light switches are, where all the plumbing fixtures are coming into the home. And it's a nice kind of behind the walls tour that, you know, I think there's some value there from a realtor standpoint. The final walkthrough, go ahead.
Realtors can learn a lot about that process too. If you don't know new construction, you know, you can be so much more valuable as a realtor when you know this stuff. And I think you guys do a good job. Okay, so that's awesome. So obviously I just want to say, like, there's a lot of, and Nick's going to be kind of probably not say, but like there's a lot of new construction reps that get super annoyed because realtors want commission and they've never even shown up at the appointment. So don't be that, right? Yeah. So you need to show up at that first, obviously, you know, bring your clients through. But hey, there's times where I'll be like, hey, Nick, sending people through because we don't know. They said they want existing, but I'm like, hey, Nick, gonna send them through. You know, so I'll a lot of times give them my heads up, but you need to be at that signing, the pre-drywall maybe walkthrough that you're doing, and then that final walkthrough, right? Which is usually before.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people refer to as the blue tape walk. You know, it is that. It's a chance to really, for the construction supervisor, the buyers themselves, and then their representative to go through the home and kind of look at it with a fine-tooth comb, and just to make sure like it shines, right? Our goal is at the day of closing, like it is done and it is complete and it is, you know, delivered in an A+ fashion. That walkthrough is also what we really try to do there is educate the buyer and in turn educate the real estate agent too about kind of how the home operates. Like a lot of what we present at the walkthrough has transitioned to more just an educational standpoint. As building codes have improved and the utilities we put in the home have had to be improved, what we've done is we've had to spend a lot more time teaching the buyers how to maintain their home. There are some things where you need to just do it once a year. There's little things that if you do every month, you're gonna, the efficiency of the home is gonna maintain itself just by keeping it kind of up to date. And so what we do is we really spend time teaching on that. We have a YouTube page where we had a series about 15 videos that we send out to our customers that our construction supervisors here in the Twin Cities made, that it's kind of a utility by utility by utility kind of reminder. So you always have that as a resource a year or two down the road, and you're supposed to change the filter in your ERV system and you forgot how to do it, right? There's a video that's going to show you how. But it's the biggest thing is to educate the buyer on how the home operates, because it is a little different than some of the older homes.
Would you share that? I would love if you shared that with me, and I can share it with people if you're willing to, because you can learn a lot of stuff that, I would love that. Okay. So, okay, let's talk about closing then. Are you guys inviting agents to closing, or are buyers just doing that on their own?
Buyers are generally doing that on their own. Most of the time because the agent doesn't want to drive to Lakeville, especially if you're in the North Metro. But yeah, we're still kind of, society's kind of starting to return to norm out of the COVID era, if you will, but title's still operating that way, where we're trying to keep it small groups in the title office, only because we're, the resources that we have available to us from the amount of closers that we employ versus the amount of homes that we're closing on a day-to-day basis. We're just trying to play it safe.
Okay, so, are you doing any remote signings?
If you're a cash buyer, it is something that would be an option to you, but anything finance, no, you have to go down and sign in person.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about warranties, because this is something different with existing. Obviously, there's no warranties unless they're transferable, but warranties are a part of new construction that is per the state of Minnesota, right?
Yep.
So can you talk about those?
Every builder has to offer the 3 warranties that come with a new home. It's oftentimes referred to as the 1, 2, and 10. And just to kind of give you a quick overview on that, the first year that you have, and these all start the date of closing, and that first year is really a bumper to bumper warranty, where everything in the home is going to be warranted for a full calendar year. We have a very streamlined way of submitting a warranty claim. But the reality is, when you build a home in the state of Minnesota, based off the climate that we're working in, there are going to be cosmetic things that pop up. The wood that we build with used to be a tree. That tree used to hold water, right? So it's going to dry out when it gets cold, and you're going to experience nail pops and some cracks and seams and that sort of thing. So that's all covered that first year. 2-year warranty is the mechanical warranty. So all the important stuff, all of the plumbing work, the electrical work, all of the heating and the cooling is covered for 2 full years. And then there's a 10-year structural warranty that all builders are required to provide. And so every builder has to provide these warranties. What separates the builders is how they respond. or their process that is set up in order to make sure the customer is taken care of in as quickly of a manner as possible. And I'm not going to talk about anybody else, but I'll just kind of walk through how we do it. We have a local system here where you go on our website, you fill out a claim. It's super easy to do. It goes straight to a lady who's working in our office here in Minnesota in Lakeville. So you're not going into a call center in Miami or some random place in another state. It's local. That person then relays it either to the supervisor or the warranty technician, and we're out at least in contact with the customer within a day or two, and oftentimes out that very same week. We also have emergency numbers we provide. So like if it's a Saturday morning and your AC unit is out, or there's a water leak or something pops up, we have some immediate response teams available to handle that through some of our trades.
Okay. Where am I? Okay, so let's go now to just agent's role.
Yeah.
And not. What should, to be a good agent to work with, what are expectations on your end? I know you see it all, but I'm wondering how people can be the best agent to work with and what they should be doing or not be doing.
Just be a partner, right? Again, the more educated you are, the better your questions are going to be. Rest assured that we're going to take every opportunity to make sure your value in the transaction is highlighted. But that being said, like I kind of said a few minutes ago, like we'll drive the car, we'll handle all the communicating, everything kind of runs through us. You're looped in on everything, but the more educated you are as an agent, the more opportunities you're going to have to provide value to the experience. So I would say that the best way to be a good agent with a buyer on a new construction side is know what you're doing, know what you're talking about. You're right, Kelly. We see it all. It's unfortunate sometimes. I would say there are more agents out there who feel it's their job to maybe even get in the way, especially as we experience delays. Like I said earlier, there's no fast forward button. None of us are carrying a magic wand. We all have the same end goal. We want the home to close. We want the homeowner to be happy when we get there. So the reality is, if you're educated on kind of how to like manage your role, it is going to be easy. Like it's a two-way team. It's a two-way street, right? Like we're all pulling the same rope in the same direction on our side. And if you get on board with that as well, from a standpoint of just like, just resting assured having your buyers be rest assured that like everybody has the same, mindset here, right? We all are really focused on getting your home built.
And it's really what you're saying too, is really be an educated agent and understand what's being offered, what's included, all the things. I know, and Nick's saying it nice, but I hear it from other reps too. There's agents at signing that try to puff up their chest and be like, how much more can I get off? Like, why isn't this like, and all those, and they kind of get reputations and I don't know, maybe that works for them. I don't know. But if you're an educated agent right now, we know that the majority of homes aren't selling for under, they're selling for at, and maybe there's some incentives.
Right. So
if you have somebody that's like, by the way, sometimes we always represent our buyers, right? And sometimes our buyers are like, Kelly, do you think you can get another 20,000 off or even 10? Will you try? So sometimes people do ask that, but then it's my job to educate and say, you know what? I just want you to know I'm happy to ask that question, and I will, absolutely be there to negotiate for you, but I'm just letting you know what we see. We are not seeing them do that, in fact, so then Nick, at a signing or something, I might ask in front of you, hey, listen, we're just wondering, is there any room for negotiations here? We would really like, another $10,000 off, but I've already prepped my person of saying, and then Nick's going to say, no, but I will give you $5,000 in closing costs, and, I'll save you money on this 2-to-1 buy down for the rate. So I'd say it's just prepping and really understanding, we're always still negotiating for our buyers, but it's really understanding. So you're not one of those agents who's seeming like, I've heard about, people going into signings and doing that. So I'd just say, really educate yourself so you're not that. And the one other thing I wanted to say is when we were talking about warranties, okay? So there's always that 1-year warranty, guys, where they'll come through and do some things like nail pop. So on my calendar, I always set a reminder at the closing for 11 months. And then I remind my clients. Some builders are better than others at probably reminding them to, schedule that 12-month. But if they miss it, guys, most builders, if they're over a year, they missed it. So I just put it on my checklist on my calendar to remind, hey, don't forget you have that 12, month, you should definitely put that on your calendar and make sure that you're connecting with them. So I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kelly, if I could just add to that quick, we also try to like set up calendar reminders on our side to remind our customers to do the same. The other thing is when it comes to inspections, and I know we're a little bit short on time here, but when it comes to inspections, we get the question on inspections a lot. And yeah, you can have a new home inspected. We feel really comfortable with what we build. If your buyer feels more comfortable having a home inspector come through, that's fine. We kind of have a timing or a time window to provide to them to when to get it done. But one of the things I've learned, in doing this for so many years, if somebody's going to spend the $500 to have their home inspected, don't do it a week or two before you close. Do it a month before that 1-year warranty expires. Bring the inspector in at the 11-month mark. So that's when you set your reminder, and then have him or her, look at everything and get that all submitted before that 1-year warranty is up. You're going to get more bang for your buck on that side, because then anything that popped up, because we only fix what the customer tells us to fix. It's not a 1-year walkthrough where the construction supervisor comes back in and looks at every square inch of the house. So if the inspector does that for you, you can just make sure everything is thoroughly covered, and then we get you taken care of before that 1 year is up.
I think this is a really good topic of inspections, because obviously we are representing our buyers, and it's our job as a buyer's agent to let them know what they can do. You can say you can do an inspection before. It is always your choice. You could also do one. You could do two. You could do one then, and you could do one at the 11-month mark. And like you said, you guys aren't hiding anything, so you're happy to have them do them. The majority of people, I'll tell my clients, the majority of people don't do one before, but you are absolutely welcome to. The truth is, guys, the timing of that's super tricky, because you can't do it 2 weeks before because they're not done. And so then their inspection report's going to be like, the hood isn't done, and they know all the things, right? So it's kind of tricky, because you literally have to do it a couple days before closing. And a lot of times builders are working right up until closing. So you have to be tricky. It has to be tricky and plan that. But I say, as a buyer's agent, you have to explain their options. And I think it's a great suggestion, Nick, as you said, that's what I would do. I would do the 11th month. I think that's a great suggestion. One other thing I want to say in inspections, again, know your stuff and know what's included. I've had inspections for new construction where an inspector will be like, well, we would really like this hood wired this way. And it's like, no, that's to code. And so all of a sudden people can get really worked up about an inspector said this. That's why you got to be really careful what inspectors you send for new construction too, guys. You got to be really careful of who that is. Because
I would say it's also why the builders rely so heavily on the city inspectors, right? Because the city inspectors are trained to understand and to interpret what the code means and how that hood is supposed to be wired. And oftentimes the home inspector isn't always up to date on the newest code requirements.
Yeah, so let's talk about the city's inspectors just really quick before we wrap up. I like that, but I just want to encourage everyone to be careful the inspector that you send in, because if they get somebody all worked up about something, basically a lot of the builders will say, no, code is X. I will do X. And if they would like to do that after, they are welcome to. So that's something that you should know as an agent, of prepping your client, of saying, hey, I know that inspector told you that. I will ask them on your behalf and advocate for you, but I want to let you know what's normal is for them to do what's to code. Yeah. And you can do it after. So I think that's good. Nick, one more thing, this is really important, guys, before they even get a COD, what is it called? A certificate of occupancy. COO. Before they even get that, there is 1 million inspectors that go through that home from each city before they will even allow a closing. Can you quickly talk about who those people are? It's electrical, it's whatever it is.
Yeah, so every city handles it different. Most of the cities we build in have their own inspectors staffed, meaning the city of Champlin here where I am, city of Blaine, city of Maple Grove, all through the South Metro, the city employs the inspectors. And then so we have anywhere between 13 and 15 inspections on a home as we build it. And it's literally throughout the course of construction. So it's from foundation to final. Some of them are really major inspections. Some are just, they come in, verify the insulation requirements have been met, and they sign off on it, measure the depth of the insulation, so to speak. But it is something that the city kind of handles, because it's in the city's best interest to protect its future resident. And so that's kind of what our Bible is what they tell us, or what we have, what their requirements are. And the cities they all follow the state building codes. And that's one thing to know about the state of Minnesota. The state of Minnesota has amongst the most restrictive building codes of anywhere in the country. And it's all 100% related to the climate we build in, which a day like today doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, but in 6 months from now, it's, that's when, winter is real. And so the city handles it all. And it's if you don't pass inspection, you stop construction on the house, right? And so we obviously take them very, very, very seriously. They're scheduled in advance, so we know when they're coming. Our job suits are on site for the inspection with the city. For example, framing inspection right before we insulate and sheetrock. That's a pretty major inspection where it's about an hour in the home, 2 hours in the home, depending on the square footage. And it's everything from lumber to plumbing rough-ins, to electrical rough-ins, to even low voltage rough-ins. And it's a very, very thorough inspection. But every city is really thorough just because they always have their residents' best interests in mind. So your client should feel protected by the city they're built in, even more so than an inspector they hire to come out.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And it's just explaining as a buyer's agent, you can do an inspection before, you could even do one at 11 months. This is what the city sends out. A lot of people don't do an inspection. I want you to know it's an option for you. Should you choose radon, you could also test for radon,
Yep.
Give them their options. By the way, there's a passive system. It's not active. Make sure you're explaining this stuff. Okay, the last thing I want to leave on, because this is really important, and Nick, let me know if you want to add anything, is escrow. So this used to be more of an issue for us when we did not use DR Horton's lender. Okay, so here's the thing that happens, okay, is all of a sudden, if you're, and it does happen, if you're closing and things aren't done outside, okay, there's not a driveway yet, the landscaping, there hasn't been final grade for landscaping, and things like that, whatever it is. Here's the thing. If you go with the builder's lender, almost always in DR Horton, they escrow funds for that. So your buyer does not have to show up to closing with money. Okay. You are going to find people that say, I want to use this lender. I do not want to use the builder's lender. We haven't had that happen for a while because we really explain how this works, especially with escrow. But here's the thing. If they use their own lender, they need to understand that if things aren't done, they're trying to get all the things done, but there are absolute times in the state of Minnesota where things are not done. Your lender, or actually, if you do not use the builder's lender, you, buyer, have to escrow the funds 1.5 times usually. So they're going to add that up, X, Y, and Z didn't get done, and it's $8,000, and it's 1.5 times. So that's 12 grand out of your pocket at closing. And I used to explain this to people and they're like, oh, it's fine. It'll all be done. It's fine. And this happens again, it hasn't happened for a while because the majority of our clients now use the builder's lender for many reasons, including this. I have explained that before. We get there, they're not done, and buyers are absolutely not happy about escrowing funds. So I would really, really encourage you guys to understand this and explain it to them, because it's taken care of if they use the builder's lender, but it is not taken care of if they use their own.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time explaining that up front as well. The state of Minnesota, and again, this comes back to the city level, the cities require an escrow. So when we apply for a permit to build the house, there is a chunk of funds that is going to be set aside with the city to make sure the builder holds up its end of the bargain and gets the yard down, the driveway, and everything on the outside of the house, right? We can close the house and get a certificate of occupancy without that stuff in. Obviously, in the winter months, it's impossible to get it in. And so what that means is the city is protecting itself. So if we went out of business, which DR Horton's a Fortune 125 company, I wouldn't anticipate that happening anytime soon. But if we went out of business, the city has the funds to finish the project and protect its curb or its street, its curb appeal. Now, lenders don't see it that way. Lenders oftentimes don't care that the city has our money. They're going to want an escrow account set aside for the same reasons, in case the builder can't hold up its end of the bargain. There's some money there to make sure that gets done, and then the loan is protected. What DR Horton isn't going to do is escrow twice. So we're already escrow with the city. So it's between the buyer and the lender to determine who's going to fund the escrow. Obviously, we have some significant advantages from some financing incentives to go with DHI Mortgage. But on top of that, DHI Mortgage also fronts every penny for the escrow expense. That's not the case with most outside lenders. They do want a significant chunk of change set aside, which is going to be hard sometimes for the buyers. when we're talking, like Kelly said, 5 figures, 10, 12, $15,000 at closing, you get it all back once the builder gets the work done. But if you're closing in January, depending on the spring we have, that might not be even until July or August, because Mother Nature can be such an interesting dance partner out here. So, so you just got to, face reality that you might not see that money back for a while. Some people who have the money, it's not a big deal, but the majority of our buyers, that's not something that's realistic for them.
Okay, I love it. Thank you for covering that. Nick, thank you for being on here. Super appreciate. So Nick Clark, DR Horton, awesome guy to work with, and awesome company to work with. We work with you guys a lot. So thank you very much for being on here.
Thanks,
we'll see everyone
Kelly.
later.
Super appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.